So, as we look at where things stand following the weekend now in the NBA postseason, we move things forward in terms of those NBA championship odds. And as the story really has gone here, DRS, in this second round, the conference semifinal series around the association, the Celtics remain an odds-on favorite, and the number continues to grow stronger and stronger in favor of the C's. Minus 140. Boston now an NBA title favorite once again with that very strong minus money price. They have been the title favorite all year long and into minus money starting with this second round, but there it is at minus 140. The biggest change, of course, is Denver evening its second round series against Minnesota, and now the number on the Denver Nuggets plus 370. At certain points in the opening round, about 10, 11 days ago, it was plus 115 for Boston, not far behind the Nuggets by just over a buck at plus 230. But Denver entering the weekend, as Donnie astutely pointed out, if you had any belief in the reigning NBA champs, the Nuggets, that 15-1 price to win the NBA championship looked rather enticing. It's now plus 370.
It was enticing, and I didn't take any piece of it because I was trying to just understand the math of it all, right? You're saying, all right, well, let's just say it's a 2-0 series lead. You go back to Minnesota. We might not even get to a Game 5. Forget about the Denver Nuggets making it competitive. But also just doing the math, winners of 4 out of 5 games moving forward is what we have to see here out of the Denver Nuggets. I didn't know if that was possible because of how well also that we were watching the Minnesota Timberwolves play. They didn't barely get by their first-round series against the Suns. They eviscerated the Suns. And it looked like they were going to eviscerate the Denver Nuggets. But here we are, the heart of a champion, tied up at 2 after 2 big performances in Minneapolis over the weekend. Interested to see what we get out of Game 5 because as I talked about earlier, Ben, I don't think it's one of those things where the Timberwolves like, oh, no, we had our chance, didn't come away with that. That would be if you were still in a 3-1 disadvantage here. It's still 2-2. You already won 2 games on the home court here for the Denver Nuggets, so I'm not going to brush this one away, but the 15-1 was so enticing. I didn't take it because, quite frankly, it didn't make sense to. That was such a long shot. Also, maybe a little bit differently, Ben. Like, okay, we lost 2 games on the home court here, but now we're going back home. It was the complete opposite for the Nuggets. They dropped their home games before going on the road. You're not supposed to be alive even in this moment today. We should already be talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves moving forward, and now we have a 2-2 series tie. So the 15-1 was astronomical, but I just couldn't find a way to actually take it. But if you did, congratulations. You're in business now.
I mean, DRS, it's a great point, too, to follow your great point. It was a great conversation to have in the idea of all of that plus money with the Denver Nuggets, who have the championship-winning pedigree, made a lot of sense just from that standpoint. But logistically, as you tried to paint the path to how you would cash that ticket or even see a cash-out or hedge-out opportunity on that large 15-1 number, it was a steep hill to climb. It wasn't as though Denver was the underdog in the opening 2 games on the road in Minneapolis, where the Timberwolves had home floor advantage. The Nuggets looked awful in Denver and had to go to the Twin Cities against a team in Minnesota that looked the part of a Western Conference championship contender. And I still believe the T-Wolves are, but it's a little bit of a different story. Donnie, let's focus on the Western Conference because that is really the conversation at this moment. Somebody is going to win the second round series between Indiana and New York, but as we'll show you, the odds maker's not all that optimistic about either team, the shorthanded and banged up Knicks, or the Pacers really giving Boston all that much trouble. And the Celtics do what they do. They either win by double digits or they lose a game 2 by double digits. So let's go to the Western Conference, where things look incredibly different right now on this Monday from even where we were on a Friday afternoon, just about 3 days ago. The Nuggets return to the championship favorites in the Western Conference at plus 135. Dallas, second best number. The Mavs a 2-1 series advantage over OKC, a very slight home favorite for game number 4 of that set tonight. How do you evaluate these Western Conference title odds where at a 5-1 price, Oklahoma City might be in the cellar at the moment, but there's not that large of a gap between these 4 teams?
Yeah, unlike the Eastern Conference, we are getting massive swings on a night-to-night basis, game-to-game basis here in the Western Conference. As we talked about the Denver Nuggets, I think what were they, like a 7-1 price here to win the West coming after that 0-2 series that they had at home before they went to Minneapolis. Now they're back to the favorite at plus 135, and they should be. But how about the Dallas Mavericks surge up the board here to a plus 260 price? We looked at game number 1 where you saw the Thunder easily handle their business. Then they got shocked on their home court to make it 1-1 going back to Dallas. Now Dallas has the 2-1 series lead over the Thunder, and they drop back to a 5-1 price. We're not burying the Oklahoma City Thunder at this point, and you are getting a pretty good return on a 5-1 for a team that has the number 1 overall seed. All it takes here for the Oklahoma City Thunder is get a victory in Dallas, go back, and again, a best of 3 on your home court, just like you have there with the Denver Nuggets. And if both of those teams do advance, we have to remind ourselves, OKC does have home court advantage being the top overall seed. So I think this is exactly where you want to be. The interesting part is going to be the Timberwolves, who were the favorites before it was flipped home court from Denver over to Minneapolis. How do they rebound here? Because I don't look at that series. Like sometimes I'm looking at that series like Indiana, even though they're going back to New York, like, hey, this is Indiana's series to win. I'm not necessarily looking at it as Denver's series to win because of how well the Timberwolves played in those first 2 games. And they were competitive in those previous 2. But having said that, you just expect the home team to win. So if I'm looking at the betting markets right now, plus 135, a little bit too low. Dallas Mavericks, I don't know if they can win this series, even though they're up 2-1. So my focus actually would be on the Timberwolves and the Thunder at some pretty good price points right now.
Yeah, I think both of those series in the Western Conference are already toss-up at this moment. Again, OKC is an underdog for game number 4 tonight in Dallas, now down 2-1 in this series, and they've dropped 2 in a row. But it's not insurmountable. Don't believe me. Look at the odds. OKC is a slight 1-point dog tonight in Texas with about 22 cents of distinction in the money line numbers. It's not like Oklahoma City lost Chet Holmgren or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and is now an 8.5-point underdog for game number 4 tonight. And despite Denver showing that championship DNA, I'm not like, all right, it's over. Denver in 6, not even going to be competitive. What we have seen so far is the road team winning every game, even booked as an underdog. The T-Wolves a 4.5-point underdog for game number 5 back at altitude tomorrow night. In the Eastern Conference, DRS, the Indiana Pacers are a series outright favorite now against the shorthanded New York Knicks. We do not expect to see OG Anunoby return for game 5 or maybe for the rest of this set. If he does, that would be an upset in itself. And we can see how that is reflected in the Eastern Conference title odds. I will say Indiana, the series outright favorite, now in a best of 3, virtually tied at 2 games all, but a longer price than the Knicks in the Eastern Conference title odds.
Yeah, and I'm interested here in the Pacers, but also we actually don't know what we're going to get in the next round. The reason I say this is we know the Boston Celtics are really good, but they're playing 2 teams back-to-back here that a little bit offensively challenged for the most part. That's not what the Pacers are. The Pacers got great offense here and could certainly execute, and the question has always been with the Pacers, what's that tempo going to translate from regular season to postseason, and also, how is their defense going to do? The defense was tremendous yesterday, but again, it feels like the Knicks are a little bit offensively challenged now, banged up with Brunson, obviously Anunoby is out, and you're expecting guys like Dante DiVincenzo to score 25-plus points on a night-to-night basis along with Hart. That's not going to get it done. But I think that price point of 10-1 is pretty interesting as you move forward. But having said that, they still have to win this series. They still don't have home court advantage from the New York Knicks, and the Celtics certainly are a wagon with that. You got our attention in game number 2. Now we'll bust you up in games 3 and 4 before you head back to the TD Bank Garden. But that 10-1 price, I got to tell you, is a little bit intriguing here for the Pacers. And that's not for the NBA championship. That's just to win the conference.
I do really wonder what the Eastern Conference Finals number is going to be in favor of Boston. Just for the sake of context in comparison, the Celtics were a minus 1,500 series outright favorite entering the opening game of this second-round set against Cleveland. Boston, an 8.5-point road favorite tonight in the land for game number 4 after winning by 13 on Saturday in game number 3.